Welcome to That Entrepreneur Life, a podcast about entrepreneurship that takes you from idea to launch and beyond. Each week, your hosts, Andrew Lees and Clint McPherson, discuss different business topics aimed at adding value to any entrepreneur's journey.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of That Entrepreneur Life. I'm Andrew Lees, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Clint McPherson. What's up, man?
Not much, brother. Just living that entrepreneurial life. But with that said, let's go ahead and kick this thing off by welcoming our special guest, Stacy Sherman, to the show. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Stacy, it's an honor to have you on the show today. But before we get launching everything, we want to ask you a few questions and talk about your entrepreneurial experience. But can you just give us a quick overview of who you are and what you're all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have lived in both the corporate world as well as have made my side passions a business. And it's all around customer experience and employee engagement, driving cultures where it's about experience and people feel valued, included, appreciated. At the end of the day, people buy from people, and it's much more than price. So that's the really highest level of what I do by principle.
Love it. And with all that said, Stacy, as a customer experience leader, a strategist, a practitioner, and digital marketer yourself, known for humanizing business and helping brands differentiate beyond price, like you just said. Can you take us back, though, to when your entrepreneurial journey started? You just said you were in the corporate world, and what it is about entrepreneurship that you're passionate about.
Yeah, so it sounds so basic, but it's true. I started with a blog a couple years ago. It was a blog. It was literally a, WordPress, looked like a kindergartner put it together. And I had no idea if anyone would ever read it. And I was just like, you know what? I have so much to say and a desire to inspire and to help others in something I really believe about. And that's about differentiating brands. So I said, I'm just going to put it out there. And truthfully, the first year I did a lot wrong quickly. And then I learned very fast the right ways. Point is just do it. And then it evolved incredibly beyond my imagination.
So what were those things that you saw, like you said, that are the things that you experienced in doing it wrong? What were those things?
It's about making sure that the content you put out is really, really written and received to be about them, not you. So it doesn't matter about me. It's what value am I giving them? And I have to write from their angle, which is really what customer experience is about. And it's like sales is dead. Relationships, partnerships, and helping to show how I can help you, then you're going to be interested.
Right. Yeah, I've heard Mark Cuban say that sales is not about tricking people, which there does seem to be this perception, at least for a while, that sort of sales is like you're just trying to trick people to, like part ways with a few dollars from their wallet. But really, he says it's not about tricking people, it's about helping people. And if you're helping people and you're creating value, then you're good. You'll be successful in some way. So I really like that.
And they know it.
Approach.
Customers know it. I mean, they know when you're not authentic.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of psychology behind it. But yes, that's the human basic golden rule.
Yep. Yeah, and I think there's also perception out there that that maybe customers are not intelligent, or they're not intelligent enough to pick up on subtleties, and they do. I feel like just about every customer, they know how they want to be treated, And when they're not treated in a certain way, they definitely respond to it. And they know when you're, full of it, when you're, selling them something they don't want and you're just jamming it down their throat. I mean, I feel like there are a lot. As a business owner, you have to assume that everybody's very intelligent and that they're, that you have to just help them and not try and trick them or get around anything. So
to get a little bit more tactical, every business owner, small, large, middle, doesn't matter. My advice is to take your, what we call personas, your target audience, and then map out a customer journey. Walk in the customer's shoes from the moment of how are they going to learn about your products or services? What are the ways they're going to become aware? Is it just social media? Is it magazines? Is it radio? Is it, all the different ways for your business? How are they going to learn and become aware? And what are those micro experiences? And you do that for each part of the journey of how they buy, how they get set up, how they get help, right? Which is customer service. That's different than customer experience. Customer service is a piece of the journey. So that's the way you design a customer experience in totality. And then you measure those experiences through those moments of truth.
I love it. And I think as business owners, we don't dig into the persona enough or dig down deep enough. Right? We scratch the surface and think we have that avatar, that perfect avatar. And you're basically answering one question, right? I have so many of my clients as a digital marketing individual that so many of my clients, when I ask them, when I come into I'm like, what is your customer persona, right? I know their first answer is going to be, I want to sell to everybody. This is not possible. We want to sell to everybody. As if you have a product, obviously, yes, you want everybody to buy it. But it's not realistic because the product that you have doesn't solve the same problem for everybody, and because that person might not even see it as a problem. So you got to understand that me as a digital marketer, it's all about educating, but two, as a business owner, we have to dig down deep. I mean, you just said it, there's so many layers to it, right? You got to understand, you got to have a picture of your perfect avatar. And then sometimes you got to go even further than that. It can't always just be one person, right? You can segment it. That's why we, in email marketing, segmenting people is so important, right? Like somebody that abandoned a cart. Okay, I got to send an email to them. Somebody that did this, I got to send an email to them. It's all about the actions they're taking. And you also got to figure out what is that perfect call to action so people actually take that action, right?
Yeah, and I'll add on that you also through the journey have to define what are, as you said, email, what are electronic touch points and what are the human touch points? Because you definitely need to pick up the phone in some of those scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think that might lead into my next question. You talk about how you can make a significant differentiation of your brand by applying the heart and science of customer experience. Can you explain what you mean by that? And what are the most impactful ways to connect with customers, do you think?
Yeah. So what I mean by that is there are real core metrics that you use: customer satisfaction, level of effort, how easy or difficult is it to accomplish your task, to get help. So there's real metrics and measurements and ratings. But then there's also the qualitative aspects and what customers are saying to you directly, or social media, or ratings and reviews. It's marrying all that together. And then there's also the heart at practice. So for example, where I work, we have pivoted during COVID. Rather than do our traditional surveys, let's say, we are making peace of mind calls to customers. We're here for you. How can we help? And that goes a long way. So it's marrying the human side and the business core stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I love that question though. Such a key and crucial question. How can I help? I think a lot of us go at it again, and where people go wrong, we're talking about this, being salesy. I mean, that's just outplayed. Nobody wants to be sold to. The moment you go in a car lot, they're on you like vultures, right? And a lot of times you just want to say, like, I'm here to just look right now, right? I'm ready to pull the trigger when I want to pull the trigger. And so you got to put the ball in the customer's court in a lot of cases. But I mean, you also got to, like, again, how can I help you? They got to see that you care. If you start off with my product, and not ask that crucial question, how can I help? A lot of people go, they just go deaf at that moment, and they don't want to hear they can't even hear what you have coming out of your mouth. It's just like that cartoon where it's like, bah, 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 right? It's just like, that's all they hear from then on out. And so how can I help you is so important.
But keep in mind that employees and business partners can only deliver that if they feel cared for and valued, right? So it's so important that, the listeners here really take to heart the culture that they are creating and the relationship with their staff and their business partners. The internal culture drives the external, operation and experience and feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, we're talking about, I think it's interesting that there's this human element to it. It's very, like, you want to touch the customers by talking to them, whether it's over the phone or even through email, like a one-to-one, communication with them, so that they feel like there's real people at a particular company. But also, like, Clint, what you were talking about with people just wanting to maybe shop without being pressured, the internet is beautiful for that, right? Because you can you can be as disconnected from a company as you want. But I think companies have to be careful that they don't reciprocate that so much that they become so disconnected that, they're like, yeah, sure, customer doesn't want to deal with us. We don't really want to deal too much with the customer. We want to make a sale and move on. But so you have to give customers their space, but also when they need you, be there for them.
There's also a really tricky digital thing going on, which is, the whole remarketing and retargeting. So you're right. Like, there's this personal experience. You come on my website, I show you the right content if I especially know who you are. But then I keep serving you ads on social media and banners wherever you go. Oh my God, talk about a bad experience. But as marketers, we do that because we want to lure you back. But Big Brother watching can really make people frustrated and do the opposite.
Oh, that's true. I really believe in that. I think you really got to be careful about who you retarget and remarket to. Obviously, and it depends on what niche you're in too, right? I mean, and what services that you provide. If you're a company like an apparel company that's coming out with a new release every week, every other week, yeah, you want to retarget and remarket to people that bought from you before because they stayed engaged. But you got to make sure those people that you're doing it are the ones that are on your actual list that are being engaged, that are still buying from you. Because again, if somebody bought from you and then just hightailed it off because you continue to remarket and target them, and you just ran them off because that's all they see everywhere they go. You just got to learn how to dial that back. And like you said, it's tricky sometimes. But it's one of those things that it has seemed to work. But again, as technology and social media got popular, that's all you see now, right? You click on one ad, you're going to see 50,000 more that same day if you stay on your feed, that from people from all different angles from that specific product that have another company that sell that product. They're coming at you like sharks and vultures, and sometimes it gets overwhelming.
Yeah, it's all part of the experience. So that's why I say that business teams have to map out the customer journey and the micro moments and experiences, because people, even if my learn and my buying experience is great, but then later on I call for help and it's such a frustrating experience with the rep or the online chat, it doesn't matter, the beginning was great, I may not come back. So people put blinders on and they don't look at the holistic journey. That's the mistake.
Yeah. And regarding remarketing, is there something that you would do differently, to have more of an organic, a better customer experience? Is there a way to stay in front of people? Like how would you do that? I'm guessing maybe email, or is there something else instead of continuing to remarket to people?
I mean, the best examples I see are brands where you just do so right that the customers end up being your word of mouth advertising. So, as an
Mm-hmm.
example, I'm a big Trader Joe's fan. Well,
Yep.
on Facebook, there are so many groups of Facebook fanatics who created communities, and people are talking about, oh, you have to buy this. Did you try this? Did you make this recipe?
Mm-hmm.
Customers are doing it. So,
It's a great point. Yeah. I mean, specifically with Trader Joe's, it's a great store. I don't go to it as much as I probably should. My mom loves it. But I don't see any ads. I don't know if I've ever seen a Trader Joe's ad. And it just seems to be one of those things where customers, they just love it so much that they'll talk to anybody that they can about it.
yes. And that's, to me, that's what brands can do. Every brand can do it. So that's part of the formula.
And that's the ultimate advertisement right there, the word of mouth. And then it's incredible that, like even on Facebook and all these different platforms, you can create those groups and have those conversations with individuals. Like you said, have you tried this recipe? Have you bought this? And just, it's crazy how that happens, and that there are groups like that. But man, it is super powerful for those companies. And Trader Joe's, like you said, it probably obviously nailed it.
Yeah. But I want to bring it back to your small, your entrepreneurs. And I want to encourage listeners that, because we talked about big brands, which is where I spend my day, my everyday. But if you show up authentically in these communities, if you join the conversations on LinkedIn, if you even create a community, which I have done on LinkedIn, it happens to be women leaders making a difference, right? Over 600 women leaders supporting each other. And if you create the real authentic conversations, then people are going to learn about you, and then paying for these ads and really like retargeting and hardcore selling, you don't have to do it. I've been found not by selling, right? So I leave that with your listeners to really think about that as the way to grow. And I also encourage people who are in other jobs too. What do people come to you for? That's really probably your passion if you haven't identified it. What do people come to you for? And then just start writing and speaking about it and evolve it. And that's how it happens.
Love it. That is great. And as a digital marketer myself, Stacy, when most individuals think of customer experience, or most business owners, right? Sometimes they don't even know how powerful a website can be. But a lot of them, the first thing that comes to their mind is like, okay, I need to have a website. I definitely might not even think about the user flow, which will helps with the user experience. However, customer experience has so many applications to it, right? And so many different layers. What are some obvious applications that are often overlooked that you've seen? And what are the applications that we might not be thinking about a whole lot about right now, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I would say, and again, every business is different, so I would tweak this, but you really have to consider the whole omni-channel experience. So, for example, I had worked at Verizon for many years, and it was, yes, there was a website, but you also have to think about, well, retail customers go to retail too. They don't just do e-commerce. So, how do you make the experience seamless? Even though there's offline channels and online. So, for example, we introduced buy online, pick up at store, many years ago when that was really new. And so you have to really think big picture and the different touch points, again, the journey, and not just think siloed. Because a customer, in fact, when I ask customers about their experience online through the e-commerce channel, many times they would answer about a frustrating experience or a happy experience in the retail store. But meanwhile, I was asking them about the e-commerce experience to optimize it. Customers don't think like that. You're a brand, and wherever you are, that's what they're feeling. So you have to look at the whole picture and design it and validate that you're meeting customer expectations.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and until you step back and really see the big picture, you might think that okay, with this channel, we're going to communicate with, we're going to get a customer to do this. And there just might be something in the way of that happening, or they might be getting, from point A to point B a different way, and you're not even accounting for that. So like you said, being able to see the full picture makes a huge difference in the full experience. Can you give us an example of a company that you think is really nailing it with customer experience? And it's okay to say Verizon, but whatever company you think is just really doing it right.
Yeah, and I'm not working there anymore, so I have no, but I can only say fond things as having been an employee. Um, so for those who have heard me before, I hate to sound repetitive, but they are a good model case. Besides Trader Joe's, it is Starbucks. Um, and I use that example. I don't care if their coffee's too strong for you. That's okay.
No, it's just right. It's strong and that's good.
So, but here's the thing, okay, that everybody can learn from. There is a reason I pay triple the price for a cup of coffee that I can get for cents, at my local shop here. So why? Why do I pay triple the cost? Not because I like to. It's because of the experience. It's because the app, before I even arrive at the store, is very good usability and it's easy to use, right? So that's one factor, right? The UX, user experience, to order my coffee before I got there. Even if I didn't use the app, I walk in, especially at my local store. They know me. They say hello. Wow, hello.
Yeah. Goes a long
Hello
way.
and goodbye. Wow.
Yeah. Makes a big difference.
It's the human factors, right?
Yeah.
And here's this. Get this. When they make a mistake, there's no excuses. The employees own it and they make it better. And they just do it. So there's so much I can go on and on, but it's the experience, it's the onboarding experience coming in. It's the whole journey. So they're a model that I say every company can replicate in terms of how you make people feel from the moment they think of your brand. So using it.
I would agree. I think really the Starbucks app is very flawless from when I started using it, and just how easy it is to upload. Like when you don't have any money on there, how fast it can be up, how everything just goes. And then it's like by the time you drive up, you're in and out before you even know it. Obviously, when there's a big line and not everybody else has figured it out in front of you, it might take a little while. But at the end of the day, there's so many times where it's like not even there for 2 minutes and I'm just in and out, and it's crazy. And it's almost same could be said possibly for Chick-fil-A, right? They have that human interaction, and I mean, you can't really forget about them. Obviously, all the companies we're talking about are pretty large. But even as a mom and pop coffee shop or anything like that, you can still implement these same strategies that, you're just learning from a bigger store that has it figured out. And yes, they have the money to put behind all of this, but there's so many apps out there. There's so many things that you can leverage as a small mom and pop store to have, or to at least have that user experience so much further along than it currently is now.
Yeah. So you raise a good point, right? These are big brands. So there's a little brand that I recently bought some t-shirts from that had my logo. And during COVID, shipping has been difficult. What did they do? They sent me notifications. We haven't forgotten about you. It is delayed because of factors beyond our control. Here's the status, right? They communicated. They set expectation. Did I feel frustrated? I wasn't getting my shirts, fast enough? Yeah, but you know what? I was more forgiving because they communicated. Any brand can do that.
Yeah. It's a perfect example, what you just bring up. And that's a very good point, because I have an actual local client here, right? Furniture store. I won't say the name, but they were not communicating. Okay. The communication is key. So if you know that there's a lot of things being delayed, if you're a furniture store, obviously all furniture stores are struggling because they're trying to get furniture in and out. They're trying to move it around the country. They're trying to get it delivered on time. And it's super frustrating. So when you go buy from furniture stores now, if it's not on the floor and they say, yeah, it's going to possibly be 2 to 3 weeks before you get it, a lot of people are turning their nose up to that. But if you communicated that with them initially right off the bat, instead of taking their money right away and then charging them for it and then just forgetting about them, and the customer's like, okay, I knew it was going to, typically it takes 3 to 5 days, whatever, we're on week 3, but not having that touch point of saying, we haven't forgot about you, letting them know in advance, even when you're actually processing their credit card at that time, or however they're paying, or sending those emails regularly and let them know. Maybe it's a weekly touch point, so that customer again doesn't get agitated and doesn't get like they forgot about me, or leave you a bad review, because we're going through COVID now. And a lot of people, right, we're a little more sensitive with all the things going on in the world right now. People are a lot more stressed out. People are losing jobs, and all of this high level stress is going on right now, probably more than ever in my lifetime, with people all over the world. And so again, communication is so important, and it will save you in so many cases. And I love that you brought that up.
Yeah. And I'll just tell you what I say over and over again. Silence is not an option. When you are, especially in the service delivery business, any business, silence is not an option. And I think what happens is people get afraid that they don't have an update or status to tell. And same with that shirt company, and so instead of avoiding it, they just said, I haven't forgotten about you. And I was more understanding.
Yep. Yeah. And so I have an e-commerce brand of products, and that's what we have been, dealing with slowdowns with COVID, and our manufacturing has been a big bottleneck. And so we've gotten a bunch of orders where we've had to say, hey, we don't have this in stock right now. We're so sorry. If, we'll even say, if you want to return it, that's fine. We can let you know when it's available, give them a couple options, but just communicating with them really does make a huge difference. And we've been, at first you feel bad, but and you do feel bad for every case to some point, but you get over the fear of communicating that pretty quickly, especially once you realize that most people are okay with it. Can't do that on Amazon though, but through your that's a whole other can of worms. But through your own store, you can do what you want, and and there's some freedom to that too. It's also your company, it's also your business, so you have to feel secure in that hey, we're doing the best that we can do, And that's it. If somebody gets real PO'd, then they can take a hike. That's fine. But most people will be super appreciative of just good communication. And that's it. That's all a customer service thing is, really.
Yeah, for sure. So Stacy, through your entrepreneurial journey, obviously you were in the corporate world, but from the highs and lows, what has been the most difficult thing to date in your entrepreneurial journey?
I would say, so I do a lot of mentoring and both in my corporate life, but then my side passion projects. And I think COVID has just had to force us how to be able to deliver the same great experience as a coach and as a mentor through the screen. So it's just challenged us to be creative, but I think I've figured it out how to be even more effective using the technology. And I think so. Yeah, I would say COVID and being creative in our approach, and really, really, really extra listening to what people are saying and not saying. Right. So, I just continue to tell the people that I work with professionally and personally that I'm here for you. I sincerely mean it. I truly care. And I think over time, when you build trust with somebody, they do open up, they do let you walk in their shoes. And then that's how the rapport happens. And then that's how you can be really effective in your job.
Absolutely. So, Stacy, as we wrap up this episode, what's the one piece of advice, or could be a couple of different pieces of advice that you could offer our listeners, to help them on their entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, the one thing that people tell me when they're thinking about entrepreneurship, they'll say such a common thing to think and say, which is, there's so many people out there already doing it. And I say, you can't throw that away. Because if I had done that, I would have never started my blog. I would never have gone the path that I have and all that I do. I would never have started. So that's the first thing I say to you is throw that away if you are not doing something because you think there are others doing it. You find your niche. You find your place, because you have a place and you have a skill that's unique. The second thing is start because I took about 5 years till I started DoingCXRight, which is my personal brand. I took about 5 years of just thinking and hemming and hawing, and I wish that I did it sooner. So I'm happy I started again now, a couple years in, but I missed many years because I wasted time hemming and hawing. And then the other thing is technology. I think people get afraid of technology, as I was. I was like, I don't know WordPress, or I don't know this platform. And either hire someone to help you, or watch videos, play with the Play-Doh.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am.
You can't break it, right? You just keep messing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially, we were talking about this before the show, Stacy, but especially with content, when it comes to content, the best time to start it was yesterday, I think, because it does take so long to get any traction. So if you're going to build some content and you're hoping to, build a business and attract customers with that, with that content, then it takes usually 6 to 12 months for your blog articles to start ranking and for Google to recognize them and start, ranking you for certain keywords. So you really got to get it up there. And I did the same thing for about a year. I was going back and forth. I was trying to figure out the blog thing and wanted to do it for my business. But, I finally recently just dug in and wrote a blog article, and it's not perfect, but it is getting crawled by Google, and Google is learning about it. So that's the most important thing.
You just said a really important word, and that was, it's not perfect. And that's so key, because that's what stops us, right? That's what stops us from writing, speaking, pressing the, send button. So we get in our own way.
Yep. Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be done.
I love it. Yep. Well, guys, I think that's a wrap for this episode. From the both of us, Stacy, we want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us and adding value on our show. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Stacy. So guys, thank you so much for listening to That Entrepreneur Life. To learn more about what Stacy is working on, check out DoingCXRight.com. If you like what you heard today, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or any other major podcast directory. You can also find us on all the socials and on our website at thatentrepreneurlife.com.
And with that said, guys, we also want to quickly give a special shout out to our family and friends, to include all of our listeners, followers, and subscribers. If you find value in our show, please consider making a small donation. Even just a few dollars helps us keep things moving along or brings value to your entrepreneurial journey. Thanks for continuing to support what we do as entrepreneurs, guys. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode of That Entrepreneur Life.
Thanks for listening to That Entrepreneur Life podcast. Be sure to visit thatentrepreneurlife.com to join the conversation, access our show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode as we continue to add value. Until next time.